In a not-so-distant future, humans have tarnished Earth until it's uninhabitable. A small family of 3 includes 9-year-old Remy and her parents. They live in a solitary settlement on Mars, and all around them is a total wasteland with no life in sight. Being some of the earliest settlers, there are no neighbors or any communication with Earth, but they have everything they need to survive. So, despite their rough living circumstances, this family treasures their simple and happy life. Remy likes to stargaze with her father with astonishment in her eyes. Sometimes the family even gets together to hear Ilsa, Remy's mom, play some tunes on the guitar. The family has hoped that one day the Martian society will flourish just like Earth. Remy is curious about the outside world, and she often looks at the distant mountains with amazement in her eyes. However, she can't go there since her mom Ilsa absolutely forbids it. Apart from that, everything was normal, until one fateful day when Remy wakes up to see a threatening message left by someone. The word "leave" is smeared on the window with blood. Horrified by the sight, Ilsa rushes out of the room in a panic, while Remy's dad frantically grabs a rifle and begins to search for the culprits while staying within the safety of the shelter. Remy is scared. She never knew there were other people, much less those who want to hurt them. But constant yelling between her parents suggests that they were expecting a danger like this for some reason. After a while, things calm down, and no one is detected. But they can hear the wild calls of these savages. Frustrated by their taunts, the dad shouts at the air like a madman, demanding the invaders to reveal themselves. This terrifies little Remy even more. She has never seen this side of her father before. She starts crying, so Ilsa tries to comfort her. Remy is worried for her pet piggy. So when Ilsa goes to check on her husband, Remy sneaks out to check on her pet despite the looming threat. She is happy to see that the pig is all right. But back at the shelter, as soon as Ilsa notices that Remy is missing, she immediately bolts out and demands Remy to come back immediately. From a distance, we see 2 armed bandits running towards Remy to kidnap her. But just in the nick of time, Remy's dad manages to gun down one of them, while Ilsa intercepts the other one and stabs him to death. She then grabs Remy and runs inside. To fix this problem once and for all, Remy's dad looks for others, but he is forced to take cover when someone starts shooting at him. Ilsa manages to spot the bandit from inside, so she shouts his location to her husband. He then manages to shoot the bandit on his leg. The dad then chases after him to finish the job. Ilsa scavenges for weapons from the dead bandits. Remy notices that among the 2 corpses, one is of a young girl. But there is no time to reflect on that, as Ilsa and Remy quickly lock themselves inside the safety of the shelter. They hide away from the windows, laying low, waiting for Remy's dad to return. Ilsa embraces Remy as the 2 spend the night in fear. On Daybreak, Ilsa is still paranoid. She carries a knife around the house. There is a noise outside the window, but Ilsa is relieved that it's only caused by Remy's pet pig. But this momentary relief quickly turns to dread, as Ilsa turns to find the bandit inside pointing a gun at her. He is the same guy who was shot in the leg by Remy's dad, but him being here implies that Remy's dad is no more. Surprisingly, he is not a wild savage as we were led to believe. He calmly introduces himself as Jerry, and he is surprisingly soft-spoken. Yet his composed demeanor makes him even more terrifying. Jerry the intruder makes a shocking revelation. He says that he is only reclaiming his rightful home, as it belonged to his parents. Remy's family probably killed them for this house. Despite all this, Jerry forgoes his vengeance and offers them to stay. However, Ilsa takes Remy in her arms and rushes outside. Remy is scared. With tears in her eyes, she pleads with Ilsa to leave this place, but Ilsa has other plans. After telling Remy to stay put, Ilsa sneaks into the house with a knife in her hands. She lies and waits for Jerry to return, so she can sneakily murder him. Unfortunately for her, Jerry sees through this and grabs her by the hair and pins her on the floor. She manages to stab him in the leg, but it is futile. Jerry pulls a rifle on her head. She is completely at his mercy, but astonishingly, Jerry doesn't kill her and keeps his cool. Instead, he gives her one last chance by putting forth a proposal. He says, if you manage to hold off your vengeance for 30 days, I will give you a gun myself. So, until that day comes, you should just curb your bloodlust. Ilsa reluctantly agrees for the sake of her daughter Remy, and later that day, they hold a funeral for Remy's dad, while Jerry also buries the corpses of the 2 bandits killed earlier. Remy asks Ilsa to leave this place, but she refuses again, because to her outside dangers are a bigger threat than Jerry. The mother and daughter duo begins to count down the promised 30 days, Remy marks each day on a dusty window. Ilsa does the usual housework while Jerry gets busy trying to fix the base. One day, Remy spies on Jerry to find his secret gun compartment, but she develops a soft side for him when she discovers a sketch in Jerry's bag. It's of the bandit girl who was killed by Remy's parents. But her mind gets totally distracted when she finds a mask that will allow her to survive the extremely harsh Martian climate. This reignites her passion for going on an adventure outside, but nothing comes of it. Around the same time, her dull life is brightened by a cute robot found in the storeroom. Remy makes friends with it and names it Steve. As the days pass, Remy and Ilsa's hate for Jerry lessens. Ilsa finally tells Jerry what happened to his parents. Ilsa and her husband were stranded on Mars, and Jerry's father took them in. At that point, Jerry's mom was already dead. Ilsa and her husband lived together peacefully with Jerry's dad for a while, until Jerry's dad found out that Ilsa and her husband are immigrants from Earth. So he put a rifle on their faces and demanded them to leave. But since Ilsa was 7 months pregnant at the time, she proceeded to slit Jerry's father's throat so that her baby may survive. Ilsa then warns Jerry that he wouldn't hesitate to slit his throat too for Remy. Surprisingly, Jerry does not hold any grudges. He just says, "You assume a lot about me. I would have never returned to the settlement unless I had to. All the Martian cities have already been destroyed. We are getting closer to the 30th, the promised day." But Ilsa and Jerry have now started getting intimate with each other. Despite how immoral it may be, their relationship deeply affects Remy, and not in a good way. She still misses her father and sees this as a betrayal. At this point, Remy has had enough. She packs up her bag and leaves without any idea of where she is going. She traverses the rocky terrain, but it's not long before she sees her own reflection in the air. Turns out, the atmosphere in their settlement is artificially maintained, as the whole settlement is covered by a giant orb of glass. As Remy reaches out to touch the transparent wall, her hope for freedom fades, and she bursts into tears. After a while, a giant metal door catches her eyes. Remy opens the door, but it's just an empty dark tunnel as a buffer area between the actual doors that leads outside. When the real outside door opens, the atmosphere gets harsh pretty quickly. She immediately regrets her decision and tries to crawl back but fails. She is unconscious in the hellish atmosphere. Fortunately, the next morning, Remy wakes up on her bed. It appears that Jerry went and rescued her. This recent setback has done nothing to change Remy's mind. Her desire to explore remains strong. She begins questioning Jerry about the outside world, but Jerry has quite the opposite feeling. He says that there is nothing left out there except dust and rock. Martian atmosphere is fading, and they are lucky to have this amazing settlement. Remy refuses to believe that there is nothing left, no matter how hard Jerry tries to convince her. Although, this attitude of Jerry rekindles Remy's hate for him. Seeing her interest in the outside grow, Jerry decides to burn the masks that made going outside possible. Remy's sadness starts to grow as things start to get normal. It reaches its peak when her mother Ilsa plays the guitar beside Jerry. This reminds Remy of the life they used to have before all this. She sees this as a betrayal. Remy runs away in anger and locks herself in a storeroom. Her mother chases and tries to calm her down, but she fails to do so and returns to do some housework. Maybe she has other plans. Finally, the promised day has arrived. The 30 days are up. Jerry gives a pistol to Ilsa, turns his back, and walks out just as promised. Little Remy is watching him. Jerry is quite sure that Ilsa has come around with her opinion of him, but to his surprise, Ilsa pulls the gun on him, and without wasting much time she pulls the trigger with an intent to kill. But what's this? The gun doesn't fire. The magazine is empty. This was merely a test set up by Jerry, and Ilsa has failed. Ilsa rushes to grab a knife from the kitchen, and Jerry follows to stop her. But this quarrel ends with Ilsa dead and Jerry injured. Terror consumes little Remy. Her worst nightmare has come to pass. She is now left alone with the man who killed both of her parents. Remy runs with all her might, but Jerry manages to catch up. He holds her and begs for her to stay. Being a child, Remy has no choice but to stay. Years go by. Remy has grown into a beautiful young girl. In addition to that, some drastic changes relating to her attitude towards Jerry. She has now mastered the way of running the settlement. The base is thriving. Jerry even trusts her enough to hand her a loaded gun. But even though Remy has no intentions of getting revenge from Jerry for her parents, this doesn't mean that she is fond of him. Even after all this time, she is wary of Jerry's true intentions. On the other hand, Jerry is trying his best to win her over. He tells Remy about a pond in the valley, where he's going for a swim, and he wants Remy to come with him. Remy doesn't want to go at first, but after a while, she gets bored and eventually decides to check it out. She arrives there with her late father's rifle to show his goodwill. Jerry leaves and lets Remy have the water all to herself. Remy soaks in the water for a while and then goes to meet up with Jerry, who is drinking by the tree. He offers Remy some alcohol, and they both drink in silence. Back at home, Jerry gifts Remy a sketch he made of Ilsa. Seeing this, Remy is overcome with emotion and starts weeping. Maybe it's the sadness, the alcohol, but for the first time in a long time, Remy shows her vulnerable side. Jerry embraces her to comfort her. However, it appears that Jerry's outlook on Remy has changed. He doesn't view her as a child anymore, so his sinister intentions begin to creep up. Seeing Remy in a vulnerable state, he begins to kiss her. This shocks Remy, and with disgust on her face, she goes away and locks herself in her room. Jerry tries to recover from this blunder, but to no avail. The next day, Jerry and Remy have an awkward discussion about their relationship. Jerry puts forth the argument that they are likely the last of people left, and they need to mate for the future of mankind itself. Remy is having known of this deceit, but it seems like Jerry has at least convinced himself that this is absolutely necessary for the survival of mankind. To avoid this confrontation, Remy goes to sit outside with Steve, and after some deep thinking, she decides to leave this place for good. But unfortunately for her, Jerry finds out about it as he discovers a mask in her room. Jerry totally loses it. He snatches the masks and starts going outside to destroy them. Remy chases him, pleading him to give it back, while Jerry angrily starts spewing stuff like, "I did all this for you, and you should just accept me since I am the last guy on this planet." Remy tries to snatch her mask back, but during this quarrel, Jerry pushes Remy to the ground and, unfortunately, she hits her head on a metal pipe and loses consciousness. Later, she is absolutely terrified to find that her hands are tied to the bed. Jerry's evil intentions are on full display as he climbs on top of her. What's bizarre is that even when he is trying to force himself on an innocent young girl, he is justifying it with crap like, "I am doing this for humanity." Remy panics. She tries and fails to free herself. She starts screaming in terror as the frightening reality of her situation begins to dawn on her. Jerry pulls on her head to make her shut up. But before Jerry could move forward with this heinous act, Steve the robot comes, hearing Remy's cries for help. Turns out, it's equipped with a gun for situations like these, so it manages to shoot Jerry in the neck. Jerry retaliates by shooting Steve, effectively destroying it. Jerry then runs out to find the medkit to stop his bleeding. So, Remy takes this chance to free herself and grab her rifle. It's clear to her now that Jerry needs to die. His seemingly good deeds were all for his disgusting ulterior motives. Jerry manages to grab a pistol, but for some reason, he refuses to put up a fight. He lets go of it and accepts his fate. Remy guns him down without a second thought. After a while, Remy begins to tackle the reality that she is truly alone now. Even Steve is broken. She sleeps by her parents' graves to contain her loneliness. This settlement has too many painful memories attached to it, and now it's suffocating for her. So, despite the harsh conditions, she wants to venture out to explore the unknown world. Maybe there is still hope to find others. But before leaving, she wants to fix her own true friend, Steve. And after a lot of trial and error, she does manage to fix him. Remy gears up, bids Steve a final goodbye, while also leaving him in charge of the place. She then walks through the same cave, or rather the tunnel she walked through as a child, although now she is fully ready. To no one's surprise, the outside is a barren wasteland for as far as the eye can see. But Remy sets out to find the answer to the question, is it really true that there is nothing more to her birth planet than some rocks and dust? So she embarks on her adventure.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.